Hello everyone, welcome to Faraday's reporting feature workshop, where we'll be having an introductory look at Faraday's executive report feature and how to make great use of it. From the list of people that had registered for the webinar before, I see there's some people that are already working with us, but for those of you who are watching it now or in the future and you don't yet know what Faraday is, Faraday is a multi-user integrated penetration test and vulnerability management environment, which means you can collaborate with your teammates in real time without adding second steps to your daily work. Faraday provides an environment where all the scanned data can be transformed into meaningful indexed information without changing the way you work. So basically, you run a command or import a report, and Faraday will normalize the results and share that with the rest of the team in real time. We have more than 60 plugins available, and we're adding more and more each day. And we include a lot of common tools. We have a list of all available plugins in our wiki, so you can take a look at that. And if you happen to use a tool for which Faraday doesn't have a plugin yet, you can create your own, or you can talk to us and we can work on it. So as you can tell, for the amount of plugins we have, our philosophy would be quite seamless in the way that most people work. So pen testers and computer geeks alike have their own tasting tools and ways to work. So you can use any tool, number tool. If you don't like Nmap, you can use Masscan. If you don't like Nessus, you can use another one. The spectrum is quite wide tool-wise. Our idea is to be as inclusive and non-intrusive as possible. We also deeply care about the security community. So not only do we maintain a free and open source version of Faraday, you can look at it, it's in GitHub, the community version. We also share a percentage of every license sold to help other open source security projects. We want to convert penetration testing into a community experience. Okay, so a little bit about me. My name is Sebastian. I'm Customer Success Manager for Invite, the company that makes Faraday. Basically, what Customer Success Manager means is once you start working with us, I'll be in charge of support for you, and I'll be your point of contact. So once you start working with us, you hear a lot from me. So if you haven't yet, we can speak. If you're not yet a client, speak. Or once you start being a client, you hear a lot from me. And I'm sure everyone has already read about today's agenda, but we'll go over it just one more time. Let me just share my screen. Here we go. Okay. So basically what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at Faraday's executive report feature. We'll be trying to understand a report templating engine. We'll go over some basic Gen2 syntax. We'll get some insights into our API. And I'll show you a couple of examples of Gen2 and one of Faraday's other features, the data analysis tool, to try and enhance your reports from now on. So as I said, an introductory look at our executive report feature. So let's start. We'll go over here. This is what Faraday's dashboard looks like if you haven't yet used it. So one little thing before I start, if you do start using our templating engine and you start playing around with the template and you want to create your own, one thing you may want to do is have a window where you can debug all that's happening. So Faraday itself will show you, hey, there's an error in what you're trying to do. What I've done is I've opened Faraday's server in this terminal, and each time I make a new report, if there's a bug in there or something's not working, it'll show it here. So we can use it as a reference. It's really helpful. So what Faraday's executive report over here does is it lets you create, well, basically as the name implies, a report by using the results obtained in each workspace. The workspaces are the places where all the information for a given assessment are indexed. So it'll take all the information from all the scans you have imported into Faraday and put it in a report. When an executive report is created, all the data from the status report from this other window in Faraday, where you can go over each and every one of the vulns you have in your workspace and edit them and look at them and change every single one of these fields. It'll all be reflected in the final report, because it's automatically processed and placed in a Word document, a docx document. And that docx document can then be downloaded from the same window, the same executive report window. And once you create more reports, like 1-2 reports about different assessment, all of them will be listed, and it'll include all its information, the status, either it's correct or there was an error created in it or anything, and a link to download each and every one of the reports you create for that given workspace. So let's go over this and create a new report. It'll open up this model. What Faraday does when you're going to create a new report is it's going to tell you that there's some information you may be missing, so that you don't go about making a report that may be missing some important information. But we're not really going to complete that now, so we're just going to erase this. So this model has only 2 mandatory fields: the report name, as it's shown here. You have to give it a name, of course, and you have to choose one of the templates that come with Faraday. I'll go over these in a minute. So we'll just give a really original name to our report. There you go. And you have other fields that are not mandatory but will be useful if you have to filter out information. For example, this checkbox that says use only confirm vulns for this report. If this checkbox is selected, no false positives will be present in the final report. So let's say you're importing information from different scans you've made with different tools to Faraday. All that information is going to show up to Faraday as a false positive. And then if you go over all the results in these scans and you're marking some of these vulns as confirmed, because you know they are there and you want them to show up in your report, and you only want those to show up in your report, you just have to check this little checkbox. And if you see right here, I have 100 vulns, but if I use only the confirmed ones, I have only 17 in this given workspace. And that's what's going to show up in my report if I use this filtering technique. We also have the tags option. If you want to filter by tags, one or more can be selected. What this does is, as I said, it filters all the vulns that are using that specific tag. For example, I have the 100 vulns I have available in my workspace. If I use only the ones that are tagged as due next quarter, I have 10 of them. If I want all of those that are for Michael or for John, or if I want all my tags, it's going to show the 28 vulns I have tagged in my workspace, and those are the only ones that are going to show up in the report. But I don't want to do that right now, so I'm going to just go ahead and print all of them. Group report, as we have here, this checkbox, what it does is it lets you choose one of our templates that's for a group data set. As I said, I'm going to go over that in just a second. And, well, the report is what the file is going to be called, basically. And then you have all these fields that are going to be shown in the report itself. We don't really need that right now, so we're going to just I'm just going to do this report. That we have some information in the final report for the file itself. Oops. Right, see, there you go. Right, and you have to select which of the templates you want. I'm just going to go ahead and use the generic one. Okay, it'll start creating the report. And once it's done, it'll show status created, the link to download it. We're just going to download it, go ahead. And this is what the report with Faraday's, the template that Faraday ships with, it's going to look like. Just give it a second. There we go. So you can add, as you can see, right when we open the report, you can add your own logo. We have Faraday's one, because it's the one that Faraday ships with. It'll show the information about the enterprise, the company information I put in when I created the report, the title, the date, some information, an index, summary of the amount of vulns found, the amount of hosts, amount of services, each and every one of vulns with its given severity. And if you go down, we have a couple of graphics, summary of all the findings, sorted by severity. And if you go down a little bit more, we have a technical summary of each and every one of these vulns. Okay, so that's what the report is going to show if you use the template that Faraday ships with. So let's say I want to edit a report I've already created. I don't want to like go ahead and make a new one from scratch. So what I can do is simply go over to report selected, click the edit button, and here I have all the fields that I used in the latest report. So let's say, for example, I want to use the same I did as before, but I want to add just a tag. Like I want all this information, but with the tag the next quarter and filter vulns like that. Go over here. It'll show me which tags are being used to filter the results. It'll have just the amount of vulns that I said it should have, and it'll be available for downloading. Let's do that just for the sake of it. We have all the same 10 vulns in total. See right here. It's going to show only the vulns with the tag due next quarter. All right. Okay. What you can do also is you have this regenerate button over here. If you want to create a new report that is exactly like an existing one, but you have updated the information in your workspace. Let's say I had 100 vulns, but then I import another scan and I have 200 or something like that. But I don't want to create a new, I don't want to go over to this model again. So I just click the regenerate button and I'll create a new report with the updated information in it. All right. So that's it for the report generation window itself. Let's go about the templates, as I said I was going to go over just a minute ago. Also, just so you know, it's not that you can only use the tags and the confirmed ones to create a new one. So let's say I want to use only the confirmed ones that are with the due next quarter tag. I can use both of these filtering options. All right, and it will show only 3 vulns. If I go over that, it will show that both of them are active. Okay, so that way you can combine each and every one of these filtering techniques to get the report you really want, you really need. So you can really play around with it, as it's going to give you all the results from these creations. All right, so let's go over to the templates. All of Faraday's report templates are located in a folder in your Faraday folder, reports, executive templates. Just going to go over here, show you. I have my Faraday folder, reports, executive templates. And here we have both templates that Faraday ships with. So what we do is we provide 2 different data sets to create the executive reports, the generic data set and the group data set. The generic data set provides 1 entry for each individual vuln with all of its fields readily available as a dictionary. I'm going to show you that a bit later. So basically what this does is the field parent from that dictionary contains an ID corresponding to the vulns parent, which is either host or service. So that way it goes over each and every one of the vulns, and no matter who's the parent is going to show it either way. And what the group dataset does is it groups vulnerabilities by name and description. So if 2 or more vulnerabilities share the same name and description, they will be presented as just one instead of going over every single one of them and show that they belong to different service, to different parents, and host different services. The parent field of the dictionary contains a Python dictionary style object with parent IDs as keys, and a Python dictionary style object containing another document with all the information, data and target as values. And the tags and references will be merged for the vulns that are grouped and not separated by a parent. So you can basically do this if you want to have a summarized report of various vulns in different targets. So that way you can have something that's a bit more compact, that's a bit easier to read. And as well, you can play around with it as we just did with the filtering options. It's just another filtering option. So there are a couple things you have to keep in mind if you're going to create your own templates for Faraday. Keep in mind that each template should be designed for a specific data set, as these are not interchangeable. So if I want to have my own template, Sebastian's template, and I want to do it by grouping vulnerabilities, I'm going to have to work around this template. Or if I want to generate one, I'm going to have to copy this file here and work from that. Both templates have macros, so the best way to approach making a new one is making a copy of the already existing templates. That's what we're going to do right now. We're going to copy the generic default template. And you have to follow a naming guide as it's shown here. You have to follow generic score default, group, and default. And here, where it says default, you can put whatever you want. Before we start doing our own template, let's go over the generic default template and look a bit around it. Okay, so what do we have here? This is Jinja2 syntax. This is what we're going to talk about, what we're going to give some examples about. What this field does, it's going to take the information I put in the for the enterprise in the model. So if I go over here, the client name is the enterprise. The title is the title. If you go down a bit, there we go, title. This is going to take the date and give us the month and the year, and we can also add the date, the index, and then we have some more information about what's in the given workspace. Again, all of this is Jinja2 syntax, which is a template in language for Python. It's modeled after Django's templates. And actually, we're going to show just a bit of a summary of how you can use it. But we strongly recommend reading the official documentation before you modify the document itself. Number one, we have it here. Just go over to Jinja2's page, to the sample designer documentation, and there you can find all needed documentation to. And actually, what Faraday uses to create this report as a docx file is python-docx template. We have documentation for python-docx template here. The idea of this library is to create an example of the document you want to generate. And in this case, we're modifying it with LibreOffice, but you can modify it with every rich text editor you want. And it can be as complex as you want. You can actually put pictures inside the template, index tables, you can add footers, you can add headers, variables, anything. And as you're still editing the document, you can insert Jinja2-like tags directly in it. You save the document as a docx file, and you have your template. So that's basically it. All right, you have python-docx template available in GitHub if you want to take a closer look at it. But we're going to go over to our wiki for now. I'm going to go over some are available in this template. We have, first of all, the enterprise title and the date information, which is the data that I've already talked about. We have also the conclusions, recommendations, objectives, summary, and the scope one, which are the ones right down here. Let's go over check summary, conclusions. And these are all, when they're shown up in the model, right here. These are all free text fields. So you can basically go about writing whatever you want in this, and it doesn't have to be necessarily numbers or any given format. What you have to make sure is what you write here is where you want it to be here. So basically the scope is going to show what I've written here in this part of the template, and so on. Check that. It doesn't necessarily have to be used for recommendations or conclusions or summary. All right. We also have, let's go over here again. We also have the counter severity, which is a dictionary with all the severities and the amount of bones for each one, which is information shown over here. This table, counter severity, and it will return the amount of bones with high severity, medium severity, so on. We have the host amount up here, which is an integer containing the amount of hosts in the workspace, services amount, which is the same but for the services, and the bones amount, the same for the bones, and except for bones that are unclassified. So if you have unclassified bones, they will not show up in this bones amount, so keep that in mind. And then we have a couple dictionaries with the information for each given object. We have the host, which is a dictionary with all the hosts in the workspace. We have also services, dictionary with all the services, and bones, which is a dictionary with all the bones, again, without the severity unclassified. So how do you go about working with all of these? These are the ones that come with the template that Faraday ships with. But what I'll be showing you is how you can work with some of the information in Faraday's API in order to bring back information about giving bones and hosts and services in order to enhance your report. What we're going to do is we're going to look at what the fields inside the host dictionary and the bones dictionary and services dictionary look like. And I have a little document. Okay. We have here, this is what the service dictionary looks like. This is what the host dictionary looks like, and the bones, and for the web bones, we have another one here. This is all the information we can get back from working with these dictionaries. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to call for each of these key value pairs and go about finding a way to make them useful for us. We can make this information available. We have a new section in our wiki about working with our API. It's already here. But if you want further information, don't hesitate on contacting us. Okay. So what we're going to do first, we're going to go over to here. We're going to copy this. We're making a copy of it. We're just going to go and call it something really original, like generic webinar. There you go. We go inside. Just going to close the other ones. We don't need this anymore. Okay. So what can we do to show some of this information that we can work with the given dictionaries? Okay. How about we make a table that lists all the APIs, and if they have open ports, it'll list all the open ports as well. Okay, so we're going to go over here. We're going to insert a new page. Or say piece. And you're going to do that. A piece and open ports. So just going to make it a new header. There you go. So now, how to go about querying the information in Faraday to make a list of 5 piece and open ports with Jinja2 syntax? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to work with what are called in Jinja2 statements and expressions. This is what a statement looks like. If I want, for example, to iterate over this dictionary for all hosts, this would be a statement in Jinja, the beginning of a for loop. And then I have an expression is going to print some information into my report, which is basically I'm going to tell it to bring back this the IP host name that I need. And okay, I think I'm going to first go over and create a table so that this is more easily readable. I'm going to create a table, insert a table with 2 columns and 1 row. There you go. It's not going to show up in the latest. There you go. And there you go. Okay, so yeah, here we're going to bring our expression in. Let's this name, and we're going to go and open a new for statement here. Sorry about that. Here. Yeah, I know what's going to do. I'm going to tell it for each of the services for this given host we're looking at, service in services. If this is the way the key value pairs work with the parent fields, if host in service, so if we have the host ID in the server ID, it will show that it comes from that given host. And we also want to check that the status for that given service is open. For this, just so we don't have any problem. Here we go. What I want you to do, Jinja, if this is the case, I want you to bring back port, a dash in between that. And then what I want you to do is to bring back protocol for that import, right? And then we're going to just tell it to end if and for loop. I'm going to go outside here and I'm going to close the other for loop. Right, it's looking very neat. What I'm going to do just to make things easier for this given template, I'm going to go over and have it that way, is I'm going to erase all spaces between so that it doesn't show any spaces in the final template. There's a way of escaping these blank spaces with Jinja, but you have to go over each and every one of the loops you open and try to look where to put that escaping. So that's in Jinja's documentation. You can look for it if you don't like doing this with your code, but if you do this, it should work. Just gonna go save it, go over to Faraday again. Just gonna cancel this, new again. Just new report again. And now we're going to choose our new template, which already shows here. And just provide again. We're going to create it. Okay. All right, and we get our first error here. So good thing we're going to be able to use our debug screen over here. So what happens? I'm really glad this showed up, because this can be a big problem if you're using a rich text editor. You know what this is? This guy over here. If you're going to use quotation marks, either single or double, you have to grab them from a plain text editor first. So we're going to go over here, just copy this, over here. There you go. Save again. Let's try again. Okay, we have to do that again. Column, report again. Laminar, report, bias. It's really easy to debug if you do have a problem when making your template. So if you do run into any of these issues where you're going to create one that shows an error, be sure to have a debugging screen. It will really help. And now it has created it. See, that was the only problem. We'll go over here, open it, and see how this looks. All right, we have a template here. Okay, and we have our table with all the IPs for our workspace. And if they do have an open port, with that given open port. Good. So there's one thing you can do to make sure that this never happens to you. These spaces in between never happen. You have to tell Jinja, you actually have to tell this to create each and every one of these as a paragraph. So if you put this P here, and at the end of that loop, what that make is create a table as this. So well, not that fast. There you go. There we have it. IPs and open ports for each and every one of the IPs for our project, and the given ports that are open for that IP. See here, you can actually, I deleted all of the blank spaces, but you can put them in your template, and this is not going to happen. What you can also do is you can use one of Change's filters. Let's do that. We'll use a filter to here. What port? If you want to use a filter, they use with pipe. We're going to use the replace filter. I'm going to replace both. Go. I need this. We're going to filter both the opening bracket and the ending bracket for nothing, so that we don't have this problem. Add space here. And the fact that it's showing up with that can happen to the best of us. There we go. So now it should look a bit more. There you go. Looks a lot more prettier now, except for the fill. We're going to work around that. Okay, so now we have our first project with Jinja 2 ready, and took us just a couple seconds, just a couple minutes. And it's a table with all the IPs in our workspace with their given open ports. Of course, you can make it so it only shows the IPs which have an open port. That's also one way you can go around it. But what we're going to do now is we're going to move on and try something else. What can we do now? Well, just so we don't go about just missing this, we have here, I'm going to add something. I'm going to add the possibility to know if any of these services has been owned. So if, for example, I go over here, I'm going to do this just for the sake of working. There you go. So I want to know if the old key for this dictionary, the value for that key equals true, then that means that that particular service is owned. So we should give it a bit more detail. There you go. Owned. So that you have no chance of missing it if it happens. There you go. We're gonna just go about make it a little bit smaller. Right. And just end our if. You don't really have to do all this. I'm just doing it so it looks a bit prettier for the template itself. Okay, and that should be it. Just going to again erase this. Still has this. I'm gonna save. Go over here, create a new report, and it shows an error again. What have we missed? All right. See, it's really, really, really useful. This shouldn't be here. There you go. All right. So we have, I mistakenly put on a second blank space. That's why it's showing like that. And I believe I have a known service. There you go. In one of my last IPs. So if I didn't put the blank space there, let's fix it so we can look at it a bit better. There you go. It's going to show up as owned if I do have that information. Okay, so we just leave it there. We see it works. If it goes into this, it'll show whether a service is owned or not. You can also manually edit whether a service has been owned or not from Faraday itself, from the host view. So this will come useful if you actually use it for that. I hope it works for you. And there's one thing I wanted to show you is there's a way of going about making a list of all the IPs that have we have in a given workspace that's not for this particular thing. Is we can make it just print it one after the other and just call it our scope. So if you don't want to copy paste the scope, or if you have already made your scans and you don't want to do this, let's go about doing almost the same we did for what's at the bottom. We're going to iterate our host dictionary, ask it to please bring back the host name. A little comma here, so that it's shown. There we go. The regenerate button is really useful too if you're doing this, of creating your own template, because that way you don't have to create a new report each and every single time you make a change. There you go. That's created a whole list of all our IPs, so that way we have the full scope of our assessment with just a single line of code from our template. And it should have, yeah, we still have a list of ports with a list of IPs with their open ports. Okay, let's move on to what I believe is our last, yeah. This will be our last Jinja example for today. But as you've seen, we can use almost every single thing we have in Jinja's documentation. I've used some of the things that are here to create our own template. And what I'm going to show you now is if you do have some tags present in your workspace and you want to work with those, if you want to make, say, a list of all vulns that are tagged and how they've been tagged, you can go about creating that. So I'm just going to do this. Make space for that particular assessment. There we go. I want it to be here. Oh, sorry, I'm not working on the template. There you go. is going to come here and add a new page break. What we're going to do is we're going to create a list in the template itself, and that list is going to have all of the tags that are in our workspace, and then we're going to use that list to print all of the bones that are in that given tag. So the way to create a variable in Jinja is you use the statement set. We're going to set, let's name it new list. Set list. Right, for all the bones. We're going to go over every single one of the bones in our workspace. And if that given bone has anything in tags, so if it has a tag assigned to it, what we're going to do is we're going to go into tags for tagging bone tags. And here's a funny thing we have to do for this new version of docx TPL. Just the thing about working with markup and Unicode. So right now we have to take this value, this tag value, and turn it into Unicode to be able to use it again. If not, it's going to break all our code. So we're going to use another of Jinja's filters. Hopefully, going to set new. I'm going to use the string filter that turns into Unicode. And then what we want to do with that is if new is not in our list, so if it doesn't already exist in our list, we're going to go about and insert it. All right, we're going to go about and use the insert function. There we go. That's how to insert new first place. And you may want to escape the possibility of this printing the none none. So how you go about that is you just take this. So if it's null, if it's none, it won't print the result. It won't return anything. It'll just do what it has to do, either insert the item in the list or not do it. All right, so it's not going to mess up your whole template. So I just end if. For and if again, and I will, go to and for. Yeah. So what this is going to do, I'm going to go about doing this again. Very sorry if this is really awful to you. It's awful to me too, but this way we can go about what we have to cover still for this webinar. So what we are going to do is we're going to just print the list as it comes out. Let's see if this works. There you go. And I keep in mind I have some tags in this given workspace. Overdue, due next quarter, Michael, Stephen, and John. So those are the ones that should have been printed. Go down a little bit. There you go. John, Michael, due next quarter, overdue, and Stephen. Great. So it is taking our tags one at a time and adding it to this list as Unicode characters. So now we can work with this to basically list all the bones that are have these tags. So we're going to go over to our template again here. We already have this. I'm going to erase this. And we're going to iterate on the same list we just created for I'm just going to add this for the sake of the webinar. I'm just going to make it look pretty for now. So we recommend doing this. List of all this with the tag research. Right? This, there you go. All right. So now what we want to do is we want to iterate again to more in vulns. Our dictionary, vuln dictionary. I'm going to just set create a new list, because this whole thing of working with Unicode and not working with Unicode makes it a little bit hard to make a code. So we're going to go about it this way. For tag in vuln tags. Just take it to Unicode again. It's the same. It's not in the list. And please insert it into the list. Okay, if there's not anything to be under, and this if, and that for. So, and we are still in this loop. So we're gonna ask for if it's new search in newest list. Please bring back. We're just gonna go about the vuln name. There you go. Space. If there's more than one, I want it to be showing just one line, so we're going to do this for now. And if for and the last loop for this particular file. Okay. So again, what this does is it's going to make it's not going to let us work with the given tags because it's Unicode and there's a problem with markup. There's a thing with docx TPL library doubts you may have about going about working with all this formatting. But for now, this will do. And what it's going to do is give us a detailed list of all vulns. So again, oh. All right. Just for the sake of it, I'm going to do this not really pretty. Yep. Queries. So we have a report with all the things, all the changes we've made. And if we go down, we should have, there you go. Beautiful. We have a list of all bonds with the John tag, the Michael tag, the Unix quarter tag, overview tag, and the Steven tag. Okay, so this way you can work, you can tell your template to go over each of the tags you've created from Faraday and give you a full list of all the bonds that are within that specific tag. So if you want to work with things that are only with a given tag, but you still want to have all the information from all the other bonds in your report, you can go about this. All right, so I hope that's useful for you. And now what we want to do is we're going to go over and show you there's not really a way to really break this if you change the style. So we're going to make some style changes to this. For example, what we can do is, I'm sure most of you will want to use another font that's not Cambria. So we're going to go about just changing the font. This, going to close this. Each and every one of this. Here's what your name, webinar. We're going to select everything, and we're just going to change it to something of a prettier and about a font. There we go. Looks prettier to me. All right. What most of us would do for a given report we're going to show to a client, or if we have our own templates, we usually have a background image for our cover. So if I want to add a background for my cover, I can easily do that. Just go over here in my template. Just add an image. Remember how I told you a time ago that you can add images, you can add everything you want to this, and it'll just simply do it and take it as your template. But what I want to do here is I want to make it work for this particular document. So I'm just going to go about with all this information here. All right. I'm sorry you have to see me doing this, but it's actually a bit harder to work with things with LibreOffice. I mean, I really like it, but for this kind of things, I have to go about and try to make everything work a bit more smoothly. Margin, go. Going to wrap it through. And then we're going to show it in the background so we can write on it. There you go. So we have our image for the cover of our report. I don't really like this Faraday logo here, so what we're going to do is we're going to go around and change that out loud. Oh, in here. There you go. I'm going to move that a bit. We're going to get this back. You can add as many images as you need. I'm just going to add the Faraday logo. That's big, actually. We're going to put it just in the corner. How about that? Oh, I'm going to do character and right. And our logo. I don't really want this to be lost, so I'm just going to change the font to something that can be read. I think it's to white. Give it a little bit more. just take it to the left. And I want this to be shown somewhere else so it has a bit more of style without making a header. But I want it to be Helvetica, and I want it to be 26. It isn't just that way. There we go. Same for the title. And I want to add also the title, because it's not just going to be the month I'm going to work with, but I want people to know that I'm working in a given day, and that I'm making this board in a given day. So I'm going to just give it this. And it's going to show the day as well as the month and the year. All right. So I think that would be it, except for this part where it says document confidentiality, which I'm going to just back like that much. Yeah. As well, if you have on your document, you can change this to whatever you might need. Actually, make it centered. I want to show. All right, so this is our new cover for each and every single one of our templates. Faraday, we're going to try it out in a while. But what really matters when you're making a report without, you want to make it prettier, you want to make it a bit more of a thing you can present to your customer, is you want to maybe work with colors, with column. So you can also change that from here. Let's say this way. Let's say I want this to be the color, and I want this to be this. Again, the reason I'm doing this is to show you that it won't break if you're modifying any of these things from the original template. So that way you can go about and make your own without fear of just losing everything. There you go. And I want to add here, I don't like it that it. I'm going to go about and create a column to the right. I'm going to color it gray. I wanted to show the bones amount, and that is going to be the total amount of bones that I'm going to show in my workspace. That's it. I'm going to erase this. I'm going to get this a little bit more space because I need it to be prettier. So no, we don't really need that. All right. We're going to leave just I'm going to just take the graphics that the template comes with, and I'm just going to copy paste it to this part of the report. I'm going to go over here, and I want all the bones to be shown in graphic over here. That way I can have more information available. I can erase this. As long as I don't erase the macros, this whole template is going to be fine. So I'm just going to leave it there. We're going to have that information there. We still have the scope for all of those. And oh, I also said you can add footers and so I'm going to do that. I'm going to insert footer full style. And I want to show the page number. Left. And I also want to have my company's logo here, just because I find it It looks cool when it's in every single corner of the template. So I'm going to go over here, just use the info by logo. I'm going to take a wrap off this. Okay, there you go. Can make it a bit smaller. Just bring it over here, and it'll show up as a footer in every single one of these pages. And if I come over here, save it. Well, let's look at this. We may have to rework on our cover, but we'll let us know. And as you can see, it has created it. I have modified almost every single thing that I can modify with the formatting. There are a couple more things to be done, of course, to make it look even prettier. But nothing's changed, nothing's been broken. I really could change every single thing I want to change to have my report looking as I want it to look like. So we have, sorry, just going to go about this. We have our cover, we have a logo, we have the info by logo down there in every single one of the pages. We have a new table with all the vulns. We can resize this so this doesn't happen. And we have a nice little graphic here showing the information that's up in this table. So you can see how you can enhance all your reports with Faraday. And there's also one little thing you can do to enhance your report is using Faraday's data analysis tool is this little thing here, where you can take any of these graphics that Faraday comes with and add it to your report. So let's say, for example, I want to work with this one. Just going to change it. Change the width. Change the padding. There you go. I'm going to go about downloading this to a PNG file. You download it as either PNG or SVG, and then you can just add it to your report. So I'm going to come over here to this IP and open ports part. Just going to, I can add that image. I can resize it. I can put the wrapper top of the text, or no wrapper at all. There you go. And that's it. It's going to be there, and that way I can have a bit more of a graphical view of all the information that's on the report itself. And that's. If you have any more questions about what has been shown here or about any specific use of Faraday's templating engine, don't hesitate on contacting us. And I hope to hear from many of you soon. Thank you very much for joining in. I'm just going to go over here, stop screen sharing, and I hope everyone has a great week. Bye-bye.